Good morning, Grace Tribe. I hope you are all having a wonderful start to your Thursday on the tail end of the week for most of us. And so, hope you have a cup of coffee. I'm going to turn the camera off. We're going to watch for people's prayer requests. Let's just welcome each other, be chatting it up. We want to be going live at 6:30 just so we can have that lobby moment walking into fellowship, the entryway to the home. So, how exciting to get to start this day with you. Good morning, Vanessa and Rob. Let's see. I saw Rich just a moment ago. Looking for a couple of other people. We've seen Walt and Melissa have both been on. So glad that you're here. Share your prayer requests, share updates. Good morning, Jenna. Wonderful to see you. I've really enjoyed, Jenna, some of the photos of you with your kiddos. Just beautiful. Makes me miss those days when my daughter was that age. She is not, but she's probably closer to your age, which is kind of weird. But anyway, how wonderful. Really appreciate getting to see those. And honestly, appreciate they're kind of careful with people online at the same time. So discerning and sharing. That's what I like. I love it. Anyway, just been beautiful. The flower photo, you had a bunch of flowers or a bunch of foliage that you had gathered, and your daughter had a smaller batch of it. I just thought that's perfect. There's a perfect thing right there. Anyway, just loved it, Jenna. Love getting to see that. Thanks for sharing. Amy, good morning. Always enjoy you jumping on the comments. Have seen a couple other people. I think I just saw Mark fly by just a moment ago. Is that right? Let's see. Dan, good morning. Great to see you. Megan, good morning. Great to see you. Diana, wonderful to have you here this morning, my friend. Yes, Matt. Sorry, Matt. Wonderful to see you, my friend. Very exciting. Glad that you guys are here. It is a joy for me to get to start the day with you. Don't we all need that? Stace and I both woke up a little slowly this morning, and so we ended up chatting and giggling and talking this morning a little bit, got up a little late because we distracted each other. But, what a joy. We get to start the day with people that we love. And so I'm excited to start this day with you guys. So anyway, going off camera, keep sharing, keep welcoming people. Dan, great to see you. Been thinking and praying about our Pennsylvania trip. Share your prayer requests, and let's greet each other with dare we say, a digital kiss? A digital holy kiss. Good morning, Kat and Walt. I may have already said that, Walt, but I'm not sure that you were on yet, so great to see you. We will be getting started at our normal time at 6:45 for the show. The show still starts at 6:45. We just come on, make it available a little early so that people can have live hello time. There's just too little of that. I think the community and the fellowship are as important as anything else that we do. If it's not relational, it's not eternal. Ooh, that's pretty good, actually. If it's not relational, it's really not eternal. So that's what we're going to be about. We're going to be about the relationships that Abba graciously allows us to enjoy Him in with one another. Love that. Pretty sure it's true. I haven't thought about it. Brought to you by Jesus. That's right. Our one and only sponsor. Brought to you by Jesus. Not that there's anything wrong with having a sponsor, but we don't have a sponsor. We are just brought to you live in life. Dan says, I need to skip out a little early today. Several brothers are coming over to help pour a concrete walk today. I've walked your concrete walk, my friend. Do you mean at your house? That's fun. I'm glad you're having people come over. You can always catch our chat later. We will leave the recording up for you, and you can share your comments or share it with others or ask questions or whatever. It doesn't have to be live. We just miss out on you when it's not live. That's the joy. When we do it live, then not only do you get the content, but I get to hang out with you. We get to interact with one another. I absolutely love that. Melissa says, continued prayers for what I am to say too, as my new season starts and my grieving season ends. Yeah, I do think there are transitions in that, and that's wonderful, Melissa, but it swirls back, doesn't it? It just never completely goes away, but our perspective does evolve and change. Doing the front walks, Bob, of course, has been helping me, Dan says. My dear friend, the Gerlachs. Love those guys. Good. Yeah, he is certainly capable. I still want to figure out how he did his fireplace in his home there in Pennsylvania. I would love to do something like that, a mini version of that in my office, but I don't understand how he did that in that internal fireplace. And who has time to research it? So, but wonderful, wonderful. Kathy Falstitch. Good morning, my friend. Blesses me every time I see you. You bless me every time I see you. I just know some of the things that you are walking with, but you're walking in joy. And I absolutely love that. That was good morning, my friends. Yes, it is good morning, my friends. Wonderful. Kat says, I had a beautiful day yesterday. I have a new part-time job in gardening. Kat, I think that's fantastic. Good for you. Congratulations. Melissa says, God has many missions he's putting on my heart. Oh, good. Yeah, your heart is his mission, right? Not that he doesn't have it, but he wants to cultivate. Speaking of gardens, he wants to cultivate the incredible collection and blossoming of life, the garden of his presence, that he would walk with you in this solical reality of your spiritual union. You are God's garden. So his mission is you, and you get to join him there and walk every day in this incredible life that he gives us in our soul from our spirit. The life happens spiritually, and it's experienced solically. So the garden of the fullness of the life of God is where we meet him in the place of our soul every day, every day. Danya is asking Susan, who I might have missed coming on. I haven't seen her comment at least yet, but Danya says, Susan, how is your son this morning? That's on the YouTube side. So I wanted to make sure I got that out there for people to hear. So yeah, Susan, if you're on, tell us how your son is this morning. Susan's son had some severe sunburns that needed doctor treatment, and they were kind of going from one place to another, to a burn treatment place. Good morning, June. How do you put words together? Oh, you're talking to me? You mean my words about the garden of God in your soul? I did an article one time, in this case, June, about that contrasted and compared the Garden of Eden, how God created us from a process of intimacy, through intimacy, and for intimacy in this garden for us to cultivate and walk with him. And amazingly, he has now planted a garden within you, the very life of Christ. And he wants to cultivate that. We all have it, but he wants to cultivate that. He wants to do some gardening. He wants to weed out what distracts us in our soul from the blossoming life of Christ in you. And so we get to spend every day walking with God there, meeting with him there, enjoying the intimacy of God there in this garden of our soul. So sadly, I can't take credit that it was an original idea this morning, but it was my original idea once upon a time, something about talking to Kat about her gardening job, and someone else talking about the work the mission he's giving us to do. And I thought, yeah, those things just slipped together in my little head. What a wonderful thing. Megan, I'm so glad you're here this morning. I love the prayer hands. I don't do a lot of emojis, but I do the prayer hands quite a bit. Yeah, Dan, thank you. I love that awesome garden thought for me. Like to show up and participate with God in the work he is doing by his spirit in my soul, right? I am in spiritual union, and he is growing me up solically in him. And yeah, I feel like the solitude that we often talk about in spending time with God really isn't the goal. I don't need quiet around me to be with God. I need peace within me, which I've got. So I can meet him who is my peace in that solical solitude, that garden. I love the old hymn, um, uh, about the garden. What is that? He meets me in the garden, or we meet in the garden, but that every day in the cool of the day, he walks with me and he talks with me and he guides me along the way. That happens in our soul. We want it out there, and it's in here. We want it out there, and he's working in here. And anyway, I hope that's a neat word picture for y'all today, that you have the solitude of the Savior in his spirit within your spirit. You're in union with him. And if you choose, the place that y'all meet is your soul. Yeah, I come to the garden alone, but I don't walk alone, right? He walks. That's the hymn Vanessa's reminding me. Good job, Vanessa. I come to the garden alone. Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. I love that little seventh chord in there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, while the dew is still on the roses. Oh, that's such a great image. Love it. First thing, the freshness of morning can be your solical time with Christ. We take our solitude in him with us, which has been slow and hard and only partially learned. Slow and hard and only partially learned by me. That we take that solitude is meant to be practice for focus all day long in every circumstance. Solitude in of itself is not a virtue, but enjoying God as the I am of Christ in you in every moment of every day. That's, I don't know if you would call that a virtue, but that really is what we are engaging in and evolving and working and growing toward, is remaining in the solitude of the soul with him all day long. That I am enjoying solitude with Abba in my car in the middle of traffic. That he is the shelter and rock. What do we need? It says he's our refuge and our strength. What do we need refuge from? It's from the chaos. If you allow yourself to get sucked into the evening news, and it's fine to read the headlines or watch the news or whatever. I usually miss the news. Stacey can hardly sit through the news, so we never have the news on, but I usually catch headlines and catch up online later. But listen, there's a meme going around that says anything that steals your peace is too expensive. What can take Christ from you? There's nothing that can steal your peace. We just don't choose to bask in the peace that we've got. We choose to bask in the news that causes chaos and to live from the chaos of the traffic and the noise around us. We have to learn to live in the solitude of our soul and our spiritual union with Christ. Only then can you afford to watch the news at all or to endure the traffic at all. We get to walk in the garden, to go to the garden alone, the solitude of our soul, and walk with Christ there as our peace. That's really my prayer for you guys today as we shift gears in the next 5 seconds. I want you to walk, to go alone to that solitary place of your soul where Christ, in the innermost being of your spirit, and you can commune in perfect, harmonious, cultivating life. And he is there and available, and he is in you, and you're not going somewhere externally. You're focusing on the reality of Christ in you. When we say fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith, we don't mean look around you and find him in, the roadsides and chaos. And you can do that. You can see Christ in other people. You can see Christ and his hand and his love for you and what he does around you. But you can totally see him, focus on him, realize him within you. And that's a soulical thing. He's in you spiritually, and this soul search of finding Christ in you really is, in a very real way, the work of growing up in Christ. I want you to know Christ in you. Rob is telling me it is time for us to start, and I couldn't agree more. What a gift. Good morning, Grace Tribe. It is wonderful to get to spend this day with you. We are going to run the intro, and we're going to talk, ironically, about, I don't really like the term time management, but time is a resource in the temporal. Time can be a God-given resource in the temporal reality of our circumstances. And so we want to talk about stewarding the temporal time for eternal gain today, and just some practical ways to do that. We started this conversation on Monday, and so maybe we can grab the episode number here in a minute or figure it out from today's, but that's what we are kind of finishing, making more practical today, moving from the theology of stewarding time as an opportunity to know and express Christ more, to some practical tips for how our time doesn't have to always get away from us. There's some practical ideas of engaging in his presence. And so we want to do that. We don't want to get sucked into the hustle culture of productivity, but we also don't want to miss out on Christ in you in the now and what he's up to and what he has placed on your heart. And so we need to be a good steward of time. That doesn't mean we need to be the ones using time to produce what we want in the flesh. That's just not what it's about. So we're going to run the intro. We're going to dive in. We're going to sip a little coffee. We're going to talk a lot of grace, and we're going to do it right now. I'm glad you're here. Awakening souls to our life in Christ. My name is Mike Q. Daniel, and we are celebrating all that we have in Christ Jesus by grace. Be sure to share your questions or prayer requests at MikeQDaniel.com. And I want to welcome you to Mike Q. Daniel Live with the Grace Tribe. Woohoo! It is a beautiful Thursday morning. Wonderful to see you, Kat. Thank you. Thanks for the little flag on the time there, Rob. We were having a great little discussion in our pre-chat, our lobby chat just now about walking with God in the garden of your soul and how he cultivates life there. And it was just a wonderful little chat. I liked it. It wasn't planned, but God is sweet like that. And so anyway, if you missed that, it'll still be on the video afterwards, but it won't be on the podcast later. So go and grab that if you would like. But we are diving into this idea of, thank you, Kathy says, that was beautiful. Good morning, Grace Tribe. Hi there, Laura. Great to see you. Marie, great to see you. You guys, Susan, great to see you on the YouTube side. You guys you're a gift. You are God's gift to Jesus. He has made you holy and righteous and given you hope and value so that he can gift you. You are Christ's inheritance of the saints from the Father to the Son. You are his gift. And as we recognize that from one another, we can enjoy that gift. I can enjoy my heart just sings a little bit to see the gathering of the saints. It really does. Just like, there's my friend, and there's my other friend, and there's my brother, and there's my sister, and there's joy for me in you showing up. Asila, great to see you. Oh, today is your birthday? Wonderful. Congratulations, Asila. You're like 19 now, probably. Delightful. Well, thank you for spending part of it with us, Asila. I am so glad you're here. And mention that. Happy birthday to you, my friend. We're talking about the practicality of stewarding the gift of time. Stewarding. I don't want to talk about managing the time. We're not. If you've seen that Lucille Ball episode where they're making the chocolates and she can't manage all of the chocolates that are going by, and so she starts stuffing them everywhere and eating them and hiding them, and uh, that's what managing a constant resource looks like to most of the world. And we're not going to talk about that. I'm not going to tell you how to better manage the time as it flies by. Oh, I can't catch every hour. I don't want you to catch every hour. I don't want you to leverage every minute for some mission that you're on. You are not in carrying the work of life mode. You're not in managing life mode. You're not in managing sin mode. You're not in managing the circumstances mode. You're not the executive manager of the world or even of your own life. I want to talk about this precious gift that God has given us in the temporal to know God by faith before we enter into an eternal experience in his presence. You and I have a blink of time to know him by faith. And we can grow because there's a temporal process that we're walking through, that the circumstances evolve because next hour is different than this hour, and tomorrow is different than today, and next year is different than this year. So there's an evolution of circumstances, right? As circumstances evolve from one moment to the next, we can actually have a changed experience in the temporal. And that's different than the eternal. We don't completely know what it's like when we are no longer having a temporal experience, but we can know some things about the temporal experience that we're having. And there's a wonderful shift that happened for me when I went from doing corporate training and talking about how to manage crises and leverage them for future growth and how you best manage your time and some of the resources to do that, which are still great resources. And we'll touch on the ideas behind some of those resources today. But my friends, time is not on the attack for you to manage like arrows being shot at you. It's not a rising flood that you have to bail out of the boat. Time is your friend. Time is never the enemy. You are progressing in knowing Christ and growing in grace and increasingly expressing his indwelling life as you love one another like crazy. Time is not the enemy. Time is not evil. Time is not a resource for you to manage and make the most of. The days are evil, as we looked at on Monday. So we make the most of our time as a gift because the days are evil. If you've ever felt like what it's like to waste time, and you ever felt what it's like to use it wisely, like I did something with my time that has impacted my life, my circumstances, someone else in a positive way, and how that time was utilized, then you realize that there is a resource of time at your disposal, and you actually get to utilize it for whatever you solically and spiritually and materially need to be doing. Like, time is not the enemy. Time is not getting the better of you. What a gift we have in the temporal to get to walk in the eternal reality of Christ as our life, the ever-present I am of Jesus. So that instead of trying to get more of in the next moment what we felt like we were lacking in the previous moment from the circumstances, every moment we can increasingly learn to trust and walk according to the truth of the fullness of Christ in you. Do you see the difference? Time is not meant to be, how do I use this moment to have more in the next, so that the next moment can be better than this moment, as if in the next moment I won't be striving to make the next moment even better. Do you see the fallacy of that? If I am trying to leverage this moment to make the next moment better, then I never enjoy now. If every moment is spent making the next moment better, then no moment is ever good. hope that makes sense. I know there was a long pause there. Those on the podcast, sorry about that. If I spend every moment trying to gain something in the next moment, like what I do now will gain me something in the next moment, and in the next moment I'm working on what I'm going to gain in the following moment, then I'm never enjoying the moment. I'm always trying to leverage it for the next, but in the next moment I'm trying to leverage that for the next. So the goal cannot be to utilize, to leverage every moment for the next, or I never enjoy now. What if God actually is glorified in me trusting him enough with the next moment to enjoy him in this one? What if God is honored and glorified and exalted in this moment, not being used up for the future and not being stressed in the past? What if this moment gets to be my enjoyment of God? In fact, I would go so far as to say you can never enjoy God except in the moment, and every moment should be spent that way. He is only and always in the present. You will only know God in the future when it becomes the present, and you will only know God in the past when you were there. But the past can teach you to live in the moment now. And the future can direct us in what we cannot control to live with Christ now. If you want to be able to recognize what wisdom looks like lived out in the practical, find people that are content in the moment because they've seized something of living in the present. Because life and grace and sufficiency only happen in the now. Peace only happens in the now. Joy only happens in the now. Love is only experienced in the now. You can only embrace all of Christ in all of you all the time, the everythingness of God in the now. So it makes sense for us to sort of have a biblically sound, eternal perspective of what it means to use this gift of time wisely. But it's not something we have to manage. Oops, sorry, I'm kicking my camera stand here. It's not about how do I use this time to get what I need next. It's about what is this time for. And I'm not saying that I don't do anything now for what's next, but if I don't enjoy it now, why do I think the next moment's going to be any better? Because I'm not going to enjoy the next moment if I'm using it just for the following moment. So there has to be something of enjoying Christ. We were talking about walking in the garden of our soul with God before the show started. We don't walk in the garden with him just to figure out what we have to do to make the garden better tomorrow. Because if that were the case, then we would show up and with him tomorrow and just be looking at what needs to improve the next day. We would never enjoy the garden. What if what we're doing is actually enjoyable? What if this moment you were meant to enjoy God enjoying you? This moment, together with me and each other, we get to enjoy God. We get to look to him in the present, the I am in my now. It's not about doing more, and it's not about condemnation of what we've done. It's only about enjoying and sharing in all God has for us, which the enemy longs to distract us for. If he can get me running behind in all the ought tos and should haves of my life, then I never enjoy God. If the enemy of your soul, by the programming of the world around you, he doesn't have to show up. It's not like Satan is omnipresent. He is not everywhere. He has a limited number of minions, and he has absolutely no authority and power over you in Christ. So how does he keep us from walking in the fullness of Christ? He just lies to us, and there's a systemic lie in fallen creation that drives us to attempt self-sufficiency. And most people realize I'm never quite enough in the moment, but I can use this moment to try to have enough in the next. And we never, very rarely, bask in the fullness of Christ in the now. So it's critical to always have in your mind that there's no obligation. See, I'm about to unpack a few tools, tips, perspectives that could be seen as time management to get the most out of life. I want you to enjoy life right now. And so that means, yes, making some decisions about my life and maybe using some tools and perspective to not miss what's actually happening in the moment in my life, to enjoy Christ, who is the I am in the present. But the chaos requires some perspective. And so I'm not trying to manage time. Time will march on just fine. What I'm trying to do is to gain perspective, to be deliberate and intentional about what each moment is for. And I can do that with some tools in place so that I'm not stressed about what I'm missing. I don't have to be overly stressed about what's happening next. There are certainly times, 5 minutes before the broadcast starts where I'm like, I got to get a bunch of stuff done before we start in 5 minutes. But I don't want chaos to be normal. And usually if that happens, it's because I've been having way too much fun with God or with Stasa or with people online before I hop on. And you know what? That's worth it. I'll have a 5-minute rush while I laugh at myself and be willing to sort of flail a little bit in real time with you so that I can enjoy those moments and every other moment. It's like running in the rain. I don't run to get out of the rain. I run in the rain like it's, it's raining. Let's run to the building. Have fun with that. If it's not fun, don't do it. Slow down and enjoy the rain. Enjoy the now. And so I want to talk about some tools in life to kind of engage in that. Stewardship of our time is really a huge opportunity to trust God with the opportunities that he's given us. I like that, Rob, of AK every day. Let me say that again. Stewarding our time is how we seize a chance that we have to trust God with the opportunities he's given us. So there are things that I think he is inviting me into, and I want to manage and have margin in my life to not miss out on the enjoyment of what God wants to do with me. So if I want to enjoy time with Stasa, I'm going to put it on my calendar, not because she's a business item, a task to be managed, but she's too important to miss. I want to enjoy this broadcast. So even though it's pretty much a habit that I get up, in the 5 o'clock hour and pull myself together and put on a shirt and, set up my camera and turn on the lights and turn off the music and press play with you 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday. I press play with you every single day. It's on my calendar. So if I get up thinking it's Saturday, my calendar goes bing, broadcast in an hour. Stewardship is a glorious opportunity for us to trust God with the opportunities that he's inviting us to know him in a different way than what we've known him before. So there's some things on my calendar of events that I'm going to speak at. There are trips that I'm going to take. There are people that I'm going to meet with. And I'm not saying don't plan anything, don't calendar anything. I'm saying the things that God has put on my heart, I put on my calendar because they are how God is inviting me to enjoy him in those relationships, in those circumstances, and those opportunities to make him known, to participate with him. He says, let's get together every day and do these things I'm inviting you to. And so I get to show up mentally and emotionally and volitionally with him and what he's doing to enjoy him in the moment. I don't want to use every moment for the next. I want to have my time being stewarded to enjoy him in every moment. Do you see the difference? I'm not trying to manage my time so that the next moment is better. I'm trying to steward the invitations that he has given me in this life so that I can enjoy him now and now and now. that I'm not missing out on a wonderful experience and expression of participating in the divine life with Christ. So if there's any management of my calendar, or I'm a watch guy, I usually change my watch. I sleep with this watch, but sleep and work out with my Apple Watch. I didn't change it out today. I love the tools that we get to use, and we manage the tools. We don't manage our time for more time. You don't make time. No amount of efficiency increases your time. Every hour that's passed is 1 hour less I have in this temporal life. Let me say it again. Every hour that has passed, no matter how I spend it, will never come again. It is 1 hour less that I have in this temporal life. So I don't manage the time. The time is going by at the same pace every day. What I can manage is what's on my calendar, so that the hour that happens tomorrow, I can enjoy this moment and that moment when it comes. I don't have to stress that moment now because it's on my calendar. So I can manage the calendar. I can manage my watch. I can watch the time to manage the tools that make the most of the moment. Jesus made this statement. He said, well, let me first say this. When we embrace time as something we get to steward in knowing Christ in the moment, participating with Christ in the moment, looking to Christ in the moment, we are distracted by the past and the future. We are anxious about tomorrow. We're condemned by the past, or maybe we're prideful about the past and trying to control the future. If you're a positive flesh person, like I tend to be, those are your patterns. But folks, I don't have to have pride or condemnation from the past. I don't have to have stress or fleshly hopes for the future, which you could call fantasy, because you're not in control, no matter how much you think about the future. You do not control tomorrow's outcomes. You just don't. You can plan for them, but you don't get to manage them and make them what you want them to be. You're just not that sovereign, my friend. But you get to walk today with the one who is. So stewarding our time in a way that honors the eternal reality of our relationship with God, of our life in Christ, amidst the temporal circumstances. See, that's the problem. I'm going to have traffic problems and an illness and, some back pain. And some days I'm slower and some days I'm faster. And so there's gonna be the stuff of life's circumstances. And so managing my time is mitigating those circumstances for Christ. I've never said that before. So let me see if I can capture that idea again. Really managing the tools of time, calendars and watches and appointments and journals and whatever. We'll talk about a couple of options, but managing, setting alarms and timers, all of that is not managing time. It's leveraging those tools so that I don't get distracted by the chaos of life's circumstances and can enjoy what God has put on my heart for every moment of every day, or at least increasingly, so that I don't have to either stress or control the future, anxiety, and I don't have to be condemned or prideful of the past. I can just enjoy God now, because everything that God has invited me to, I manage my calendar so that I can enjoy my time. I don't manage my time so that I can get through my calendar. I'm not managing my time so I can get through my calendar. Go, go, go. I've got lots on my calendar. I've got lots on my to-do list. I don't want to live that way. I want to mitigate life circumstances as best as possible with stewarding tools, so that in any given moment, I can have the margin to be available for what God will do with me in the moment. I can enjoy the relationship because I'm not as distracted with the chaos. Chaos happens. It just doesn't have to define your life. Oh, my friends, chaos happens in this world, but it does not have to define your experience. And so stewarding our time is a matter of managing some tools that help us to not be distracted by the past or the future or the chaos of the world, so that we can enjoy what God is inviting us to do. I want date night on my calendar. I want this broadcast on my calendar. I want to set a timer for when I need to start and end some things because there are other things that I want to also enjoy with God. So we steward some tools so that we can embrace God with our time. You can only embrace that relationship and any relationship in the moment, because in this moment, I have great peace. His name is Jesus. I don't have to stress about what I have to get done when we're done with this appointment, because here's the truth. It's on my calendar and I'll get to it when I get to it. So I can enjoy you, literally. Sheila, Grace, Kathy, I can enjoy you right now. I don't have to worry about what's next. It's either on my calendar or it doesn't need to be. It frees me from the freneticism of the future. I know it's a 40-cent word, freneticism. But isn't that wonderful? Managing tools that are useful for my time free me from the freneticism of the future. I can just enjoy now because I've managed my calendar to make the most of my time. Managed my calendar. I'm not managing the time. I'm managing the calendar. Otherwise, I'm panicked now about my time. But I don't have to be panicked right now about my time because I know I have a good hour to chat with you if I want it. I've got that time. People have commented before, knowing that I was really busy or about to catch a plane or, about to go up on stage or whatever, how present they felt like I was with them. Like I stopped and talked to Mike, or we set time aside to have coffee, but he had to be somewhere right after. And we sat there and I was just amazed at how sort of committed he was to the moment. How do you live committed to this moment? To be with the person you're with, to be with the person you're with. See, you're with Christ every moment of every day. He is in you every moment of every day. But are you fully present with him, or is your focus, your volition, your heart, your thinking on something besides being with him? In a very real way, growing up with Christ is just being increasingly Christ conscious because you've already got him. You're not going to be more with him, but you can still be more present. He is fully present with you. He's making eye contact, heart to heart, face to face, life on life, every moment of every day. His gaze is on you, waiting for you to gaze in his direction. God loves giving you his full attention. And you get to live that way with him too. Fully present with Christ in you. We've all sat with people at the dinner table and there's a text message I'm waiting for. And then because I'm on the phone, Stacey picks up her phone and we're sitting in this moment with people that aren't present. You're watching a movie, but you're half watching the movie, and you're reading a book, but you're half reading a book, and you're listening to music, and you're half listening to music. You're having a conversation, but you're only half having the conversation. It's not that person is any less with you. It's that you're not fully present with them. Maturity really is managing those tools that allow us to be fully present in the moment with Christ. There is only peace in this moment. When tomorrow comes, you can choose to be at peace with God in that moment. But you can't manage the time to make it more peaceful. Do you see what I'm saying? The time is not your source of anything. It's an opportunity to enjoy Christ, who is your source always. I was reading John 8. This wasn't part of my notes on Monday, but I was reading John 8 this morning, and Jesus is talking about Abraham is the father of the Jews. You say he's your father, and you say that, God is your father, and you say all of this stuff, but your father really is antagonistic to my father. My father has sent me. And they're like, how can you say that the moment that you have that you're sort of loathing with me, Abraham was longing for? And they're like, how do you know what Abraham was longing for? You're not even 30. How do you know what Abraham was longing for? And he makes this incredible statement. He says, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Yahweh. Boom. Before Abraham was Yahweh. Wow. So of course, they pick up stones to kill him. You don't get to say Yahweh. One of the reasons that Judaism kind of refuses to say or write the name of God is because it's blasphemy. I can't say I am, because only God can say that. To say the name of God from Moses, his interaction with the burning bush, God in the burning bush, he said, who should I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him, I am sent you, the one who always is. I am. That's who sent you. Everyone else is, I hope he will be, or I thought that he was, but God is, I am. The ever-present one. And you, my friends, are like him. By the way, he told Moses to tell them that, so it must be okay to say it. Sorry, all my Messianic, Christian, Jewish friends. He told Moses to tell people, use the word, I am, Yahweh. Tell them Yahweh sent me, which means it must be okay to say Yahweh, however you say Yahweh. We don't have any vowels in that word, so we're guessing. Could be Yiwah. We don't know. So that sounds like Ewok or something. I don't know. God has a sense of humor. He tells you what he wants you to know. He doesn't tell you what he doesn't want you to know. God's okay. God's not insulted. God's doing just fine. God's doing great. God is very secure in himself. He is stretched out, having a good, God is just going, yeah, I hear you. Tell me more. He's just in it with you and enjoying life. God is not threatened. He is not insult. He is not offended. God is good. He's doing good. Not only is he good to you, he's just good in and of himself. It's like, I'm good, man. I'm good. I want you to enjoy. I want you to be okay. I want you to be good. I want everything to be all right with you because I'm all right. I'm all right. And you're all right in me. Jesus said, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. John 8:58. Great passage. Great passage. So I want to just unpack in the time that we have left. These are just tools that we manage so that we can be present in what God is inviting us to in each moment. We don't even have good language for this, honestly, because I keep wanting to say, to help us manage our time, but we're really not managing our time. We're enjoying the moment with Jesus because we've managed a calendar and we've managed a watch and we've managed an alarm. I don't want you to manage the time. I just want you to enjoy God enjoying you now. I want you to be fully present with Jesus, the I am in you. Because he is the I am, but he's the I am in you. So I don't have to manage this moment to get what I'm lacking in the next moment. I can enjoy him fully present in the fullness of God, fully in me in the moment. And in the next moment, guess what? He's going to be enough then too. I can trust that he's enough in the next moment so I can enjoy him in this moment. But some of the things that help us in this temporal chaos that we're in, to manage the chaos, or really not even to manage the chaos, but to manage my focus amidst the chaos. I'm not trying to control the chaos. I'm trying to impact my own focus in the midst of the chaos. I love the illusion that Jenna is pulling up in the comments. She said, for once you're in darkness, but now you are light. Look, I don't worry about the dark if I have a flashlight. I don't worry about the cold if I bring a jacket. I'm not managing the cold. I'm managing my temperature amidst the cold. I'm not managing the darkness. I'm not getting rid of the darkness. I'm carrying a flashlight so the darkness doesn't matter. The cold doesn't matter. I've put gas in my car so the distance doesn't matter. I have stuff on my calendar so this moment I can be with you. So we're managing tools that free up our focus in the moment for what God is doing. Isn't that awesome? We're managing tools that free us up from the impact of the chaos so that we can know him now. Oil for your lamp, June says. Oh, June, love you, my friend. That's brilliant. Be still and know. I can't afford to be still if I haven't planned what's coming next. I have to constantly be managing whatever's coming next. If I don't learn how to steward my time by managing some tools so I can afford to be fully present, that just helps us so much. I will say this, increasingly in my life, I have learned to live that way a little bit better so that even when my time is not managed, even when keep saying time managed, even when those tools have not been well managed so that the chaos could impact me, I enjoying him in the moment and enjoying him through me and through you when we're together. I enjoy those things so much that even when I have mismanaged my calendar, and Kat Horton is laughing right now because she knows how badly at times I manage my calendar. Even when I mismanage the tools that help me be focused in my time, I just enjoy him too much to miss him in the moment more than I used to. So increasingly, this just becomes my demeanor, but it sure keeps the chaos from impacting me as much when I've managed these tools well. So here's some ideas to help you as tools to manage your focus in the moment. Catherine, don't laugh at me out loud. She's like, yes, don't start giving examples. I forgot most of the time to share my calendar with Catherine when she was helping me manage my calendar for a while. It's okay. I enjoyed Catherine more than I managed the tools that she was helping me manage. Isn't that great? It's just great. So here's the deal. Number one, this is going to sound funny, but I'm going to explain it. Choose your time. Choose your time. You get a choice. One of the ways that God is showing me to manage tools to be deliberate about my focus instead of getting sucked into the chaos. One of the ways he's showing me to do this is to be deliberate, to be intentional. How do you spend your time regardless of the temporal circumstances? What are you going to do with your time? What I mean by that is we often are pinballing our time. Oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Whatever's happening. Oh, shiny object. There's a squirrel. Oh, let's binge Netflix. Who cares that I was going to watch it for 15 minutes? I've now been watching it for 3.5 hours. I'm not choosing it. I'm a victim of my circumstances. When I look at my time and I'm doing a lot of things I never chose to do, then this is for you. Does that make sense? We don't make time. We choose not to spend it over there so that we can spend it over here. And a lot of times the chaos distracts us from our own volition of how we're spending our time. So in any given moment, you should kind of get in the habit of saying, did I choose this? Did I choose this? Because I might sit down to look something up online and then 3 hours later, I'm still scrolling through email. And it's not that some of those email aren't important, but that's not what I chose to do at that time. But failing to choose, I just got sucked into whatever's next. Failing to choose what I'm going to do with my time allows me to just get sucked into whatever's happening next. I am all for you putting on a record and sitting and listening for 17 minutes, 23 minutes, depends how long your LP is. I'm all for that. What I don't want to do is put on the record and then get sucked into something on my phone and miss the record. Do you see what I'm saying? If you're choosing to walk in the garden, don't get on the phone and miss out on what's in the garden. If you're choosing to be in a meeting, don't be distracted waiting for an email so that you don't enjoy God in the meeting. The very first principle of enjoying God in the moment is to choose how you enjoy God in the moment. Choose how you spend your time. If you feel like watching 3 episodes of your latest Netflix binge, great. I'm not saying don't waste your time. I'm saying choose your time. Don't be a victim of distraction. And the way that you do that is by choosing how to spend your time. I think we too often choose projects and tasks instead of time. I'm going to do this for 15 minutes. Instead, I think I'm going to sit down and look at stuff on Amazon. And then 2 hours later, I'm thinking, what do I need to be doing now? This is not getting me anywhere. In other words, choose the time you're going to spend on a project, not a project you're going to work into, because once you pinball toward that project, you're going to ping to the next project. And so choose the time, not just the task. Choose the time. Get choosy with your time. Choose your time. Not, I'm going to watch an episode of Netflix, whatever, because then the next one comes on and the next one comes on. Why? Because they know they've got you. If they can pull you into the next one, they're increasing your watch time. They're increasing the value of what you're paying. You've watched 30 hours of videos this week, and they're thinking for only $8, you get 30 hours a week of entertainment. No, I don't. About 15 minutes of that was useful, and the other 2 hours and 45 minutes was a waste today. I didn't choose it. I just got sucked into it. So choose the time. And then when that time is up, choose again. You want to watch another episode? You want to do something else? You want to shift gears? Go make a sandwich? Fine. Choose the next time. I would encourage you to start getting choosy with your time, not your tasks. Get choosy with your time, not your tasks, because the world will direct you to uselessness. And you could actually enjoy this moment and the next, instead of choosing how you're going to do something and then losing the rest of the day. Choose it. Don't just get sucked into scrolling through random list of shows for a seemingly endless amount of time until you just get over it and turn it off because you're too bored doing what you never chose to do in the first place. Choose what you want to do and then be very deliberate at the end of that time. Choose what you want to do next. Now, I'm very much not saying to plan every moment. I don't want you to have a full calendar, because then you're going to start freaking out. You have to get done with what you're doing now to get to what you're doing next. I don't want that either. I want you to have all kinds of margin. Most ministry, most revelation, most relational work that you do with God happens in the margins. It happens between things. It's the fabric, the mortar between the moments of our day. So I want you to have all kinds of margin. I'm just saying, plan your time, or it's going to get spent on things you didn't plan. So don't plan every moment of your time. I'm simply saying to choose how you're going to spend your time. When that time is over, choose how you're going to spend your next block of time, whether it's on your calendar or you're just getting in the habit of choosing what you really want to do next. Choose how you want to spend your next block of time. In this way, you won't just be spending it unintentionally. You won't be missing God in the moment. You won't be doing things of lesser value instead of things of greater value. So, number one, I want you to sort of develop a habit, a paradigm of choosing your time. That doesn't mean that you're not distracted. It means that when you're distracted, you're choosing the distraction. This is a wonderful habit. Jesus often was headed one place. That's how he chose to use his time, or he was talking to one group of people, and then something happened and he chose to give it his full focus. Oh, there's a guy being lowered on the mat in the middle of my sermon. He's going to get my full attention. He is now where I'm focused. He chose. And that guy, oh, my son, your sons are forgiven. And he turns back to his audience who are all grumbling, who is this guy to forgive sins? And he goes, okay, let me deal with you now. He's on his way to the next town and people are crying out for his help. Son of David, have mercy on me. And he's like, now that person, who was that? He gets my undivided attention. People were pressing in all around him, and some woman tugs on his cloak because she had an issue of blood that wouldn't stop. And he stops the thronging crowd and the direction he's going, and he shifts his focus to that moment. So I'm not saying be undaunted in your focus. I'm saying choose next. Choose what's next and then be fully present in that. I love that Jesus was eminently distractible for what was of greater value to him than the task at hand. And it was always people. It was always people. He was always distractible by people who came to him by faith in need. I hope that's making sense. Jesus was grieving the loss of his dear friend and cousin, John the Baptist, found out that he was dead. He had been struggling. I saw Bartimaeus, which was the blind guy, have mercy on me. He heard that John the Baptist was struggling with his faith. Are you the one, or am I waiting for someone else? And so he sent him back word to encourage him. And when those people came back, they said, yeah, he's dead. He heard that his buddy, his compatriot, his partner in the gospel, his precluder of truth, his messenger of the redemption that he himself would bring, and the kid that he grew up with largely as a family member, had been executed because of him. And Jesus, in his humanity, felt the temporal loss of John the Baptist. He knows better than anyone that he's going to spend eternity with John the Baptist. He knows better than anybody that this temporal life is just a blink. But in the moment, he misses John. He misses John. And he's grieving the loss. If Jesus grieved John the Baptist, knowing what he knows and the perspective that he has, listen, your grief for what is temporally lost is not wrong. But Jesus, in his grief, tried to get away from the crowd, and he went across the Sea of Galilee, which is a big lake, and he landed on the other side, and people heard that that's where he was headed, so they ran around. The crowd ran around to meet him after the feeding of the 5,000, and he got there, and he saw them sort of clamoring in their neediness and their bewilderment for who he was and what he needed and how to do life. And it said that in the midst of his grief, trying to get away from the crowd found him, and he had mercy on them. He had compassion for them, for they were like sheep without a shepherd. Don't miss this. He was distracted from what he had chosen to do, but only by people that were more important to him in the moment. He valued them more than what he needed in what he had planned for the circumstance. And that happens over and over and over, that what he wants for other people that only he can provide, that he has an opportunity to make God known in a real way as sufficient in their life, that his relationship with the Father can minister to other people in their relationship with the Father. That always elevated his love of God, meant his love for others always more than his need in the moment. He's hungry. He's tired. Here's the woman at the well. He's trying to get somewhere. Here's the woman in the thronging crowd. He's trying to get away and grieve. Here's the people that he has compassion for that are like with sheep without a shepherd. Over and over and over. He's up to something on his divine calendar, and people are more important than the project. Again and again and again and again, he's the least task-driven person when the task he had is the redemption of all humanity. Most important task list in all of history, and he's constantly distracted by people whom he loves because the agenda was serving them. So he's not going to neglect them for the agenda. How do you have that kind of presence of mind? I am not saying to fill your calendar. I'm saying to be deliberate in choosing your time and then choose next. So that in the moment that I've chosen, I don't have to worry about everything else. I've chosen this. This is what I want to be doing with you. So I don't have to be thinking about the rest of my day. I have some pretty big projects going on. I have some exciting stuff. In fact, I wish I could tell you more about it, but I can't yet. But man, there's some exciting stuff. I can hardly sleep at night just for the sheer joy of things that I get to participate with God in. But you know what? When I am working on those things, I'm going to enjoy those things. Just like in this moment, I'm enjoying this thing. And the only reason I bring it up now is because it's a wonderful example that I want to be in this moment with you, because guess what? In this moment, I'm with you. And I want to suck the marrow from this moment with you. You You, David, Kathy, Rob, Vanessa, you are more important than in this moment than every other project. Anything that God will ever do through me does not garner my attention from you right now. I have chosen you. Now, I don't mean that in a haughty way. That's God's heart towards you. God is choosing to be with you in this moment. Susan is giving a great example of that. One of my partners in crime, Gretchen Cannon, came up to us at a conference, and I was talking to Susan, and she's like, and we had business. I mean, we have stuff to do. We have some great projects. And Gretchen came up and said, hey, when do you want to chat? What's going on? And I was like, right now, I'm with Susan. And when we're done, I'll come find you. Let's make a plan for that so that I can get back to Susan. And Gretchen didn't take that badly. She knew I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, the value of choosing is to be present and give value to those with whom you've chosen to spend that time. Susan, you are special. See, this isn't an agenda to make people feel better. They are more valuable. Let's not undermine their value by being distracted by all the stuff we've not managed our calendar well enough for. All right. You just got to know. I don't want you to feel like you matter. You do matter. Do you see the difference? Jesus didn't have a plan to go and make people feel good about themselves. He did value them. He did love them. He didn't have an agenda to make them feel loved. He actually loved. He didn't have an agenda of what can I do to make people feel better. He actually did value them. So when people say, oh, that makes me feel this way, I'm going, you are that way. Or that's a lie. What's the reality? The reality is that you totally rate people. You rate. You are so important. You alone are worth the cross of Christ. For the joy of you, he endured the cross. Endured the cross. That sounds funny to me. For you, he endured the cross. What a gift that you can manage your calendar to express real value to other people because you don't have to be managing what's not happening yet. So again, let's move forward. That number one, that's just choosing your time. If I don't choose my time, then I'm missing out on something of greater value than what I'm spending it on. It's a limited resource. Does that make sense? If I'm not choosing how to spend this time, then I'm going to end up spending it on something that's of lesser value to me because I'm not choosing it. Everything I say yes to, I'm saying no to everything else. So it's great to say yes to one show or one project or 30 minutes to manage your email. Great. Say yes to those things. But I need to also then say no to it when I'm done. Saying yes for 30 minutes is saying no to 45. And it's saying no to an hour. And it's saying no to anything that distracts me from it unless it's more important. Choose it. And then be deliberate to choose what's next. If I choose my time and not the task, which we're going to talk about next, then when that time is up, I choose again. And I can choose more. But by choosing the time, I get to choose the next block of time, whatever is most important then. So that after an hour of surfing the web, I can decide whether or not sleep might be more important. And if it is, maybe I should shift to a book so that I can go to sleep. All right. So number one is choose your time, because when that time is up, you get to choose the next time. And number two, measure by time, not by tasks. Now, the way I presented number one is they dovetail a lot together, but measure your time, not your tasks. Don't look at what you got done today. What if one task took all day? Does that make it less valuable? No. Measure your time. I spent today doing the valuable thing with the valuable person, enjoying God, enjoying me. I chose my time, and it just happened to be 5 hours at work. Measure by time, not by task. The second way that God is showing me to honor the time that I have is by, he says, number your days, right? Measure your life by your time. Number your days. Teach us to number our days, not to count up our tasks, to number our days. I have a limited amount of time. I'm going to choose how I'm going to use it. Here's the days that I've spent. Here's the hours that I've spent. Here's the moments that I've spent. I don't have to stress about tomorrow if I'm choosing how I'm going to spend that time if God chooses to give it to me. I know some things about tonight. I've chosen some things. I know some things about tomorrow. I've chosen some things. And in between those things, I'm going to look at what's happening and I'm going to hopefully choose what's next. Measure by time, not by task. The second way that he's showing me is numbering my days, numbering my hours. How have I measured my day? I make the most of every opportunity by measuring the time that I spend on things, not a specific amount of things I get done. I don't need 10 things checked off. I don't need one thing checked off. I don't need 20 things checked off. I need to choose my time and say, here's how I spent my time. But because I chose to spend my time that way, I'm not unhappy about it. I didn't miss out on my day because I was just trying to get to the next thing. I was enjoying each moment one after another. Do you see the difference? If I'm being managed by a task list, then I'm a slave to the number of tasks I get done. But if I schedule the things that I want to do, then my time is not managing me. I'm stewarding my time for what is of value to me. Measure your time, not the tasks. Measuring life by accomplishments can be a little fulfilling or inspiring in sometimes, but never in advance. I can't be fulfilled by what I have yet to do. So we're kind of fantasizing about the next moment if I'm trying to live by tasks. Look at all I'm going to get done today. It's very inspiring. I'm going to do this today and that tomorrow and this the other day, so that look at all I have done a year from now. It can feel very inspiring, but I can't control those things. All I can do is manage my calendar and manage a task list in order to embrace what's valuable to me in the time. We don't actually control outcomes. We control consistency of processes. So I choose every morning to get up and get ready and sit down and press play and be with you. All I can control is the process. But because that's my mentality increasingly, when stuff blows up, I laugh because I don't control whether or not everything works. I just control the process that I engage in. Every day I get up, I get ready, I press play, and we go. If stuff works, and if stuff doesn't work, guess what? I'm not in control of stuff. I just manage the process. We don't actually control any outcomes. We control the consistency of the processes and systems that we have in place, and the process that we engage in creates habits, and the habits or systems often influence outcomes, but there's so many variables that aren't part of the systems we come up with. There's so many variables that we don't manage in our process. I'm not trying to control the outcome of every broadcast. I'm just doing the same thing almost every day, pressing play and letting God control the outcomes. I'm free. When someone, I think it was Aristotle, said, discipline is freedom. He's saying you do the process and you'll be free of the outcomes. You just do what you do and let come what may. So we're measuring our time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to engage in this process. I'm not going to control the project's end result. I'm going to engage in a process God has given me every single day. The consistency of my engaging in the process influences the outcomes. I get better at the process, whatever it is. If you have to make 10 phone calls to make a sale in your work, you don't control who says yes. You just go and engage in the process. And you invite people to say yes, and every 10th one does. So you manage not the outcomes, you manage the tools that govern your time, that impact your time, that keep you from distraction, so that by engaging in the process, you can get through 10 people and get a sale, and get through 10 more people and get a sale, and get through 10 more people and get a sale. Does that make sense? You're not trying to manage outcomes. You're not getting more sovereign. You're engaging in a God-given process. He's invited you into an opportunity. Engage in the process with him. So we're measuring our time. I'm going to spend 2 hours doing this, and whatever comes of those 2 hours comes of those 2 hours. If I'm trying to cause an outcome, that's going to stress me out every single time. If I'm trying to control an outcome, no amount of time is enough. I'm just stressed about the outcome. Go, 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 go. If I say I'm going to spend 2 hours doing these 3 things, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and in 2 hours, I'm going to be done, and I'll choose what I'm going to do next. I'm not stressed about the outcome. I'm just doing what I have in front of me to do. Do you see the difference? We're so going, I've got to get this done. I've got to get this done. I've got to get this done. No, I've got to work on this for an hour, or I've got to work on this for 20 minutes. And I'm going to take a break. I'm going to work on it for another 20 minutes if I choose. I'm going to engage in the time. We have more tools to help manage the distractions from good use of our time than we ever have before. I use Siri timers all the time. So I have alarms going off and reminders popping up, not because I'm in chaos about what I need to get done, but because I have a lot to get done that I want to be thinking about until then. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? I am not trying to get lots done. I have lots to get done that I don't want to think about until then. So I want a reminder to think about it then in the time I've designated for it, so that right now I don't have to be thinking about that, because when this is over, I have something next. But because I'm managing some tools, I don't have to, I can just measure out my time with you, and I've got margin. The reason we go long sometimes in these conversations, I kind of have an hour designated, but I also have margin. So God can do whatever he wants. Because I don't have anything. I never schedule anything before about 8:30. So the reason we go long is because I have margin for whatever God is doing in the moment. Isn't that interesting? I've scheduled stuff, but I don't schedule stuff back to back to back to back to back, because I want margin in each of those moments, if I can, when I can. We don't actually control any outcomes. We just control what we're doing in the process. So be deliberate about choosing what you're going to be working on at any given time, what you're going to work on next, and for how long, and measure your day by your time, not your tasks. That's the takeaway. Here are all of the processes I engaged in. I don't control the outcomes. The outcomes stress me. Did I get it done? Did I not get it done? I worked on the right things. I chose it, and that's what I worked on. Mission accomplished. What God does with that time with me, it's entirely up to him. Number 3, I value things by scheduling them. Not only do I think that we should choose how we spend our time, that was number 1. And not only do I think that we should determine what we do or measure our time instead of tackling tasks, that was number 2, measure the time, not the tasks, until completion, right? I don't control that. But number 3, I think we do really well to plan our time and then adjust as necessary. But how? If I pull up my calendar and I plan my time, what do I put on there? I don't think that you should be managing what needs to be done. I think you should be planning what you think should be done. There's a big difference. Don't manage your time, plan your priorities. Value and schedule what you value. Don't manage your schedule. Here's all the things I have to get done. Plug them in so I get them all done. Don't do that. Here's all the things that are important to me. When am I going to do those things? Don't manage your calendar. Schedule your priorities. There's an awful lot that never gets on my calendar because it never takes precedence over what I value the most. It will be a rare thing that I go, hey, I can't do date night because this came up. Why? Because the date night's going to be more important than anything that comes up. Nothing gets in the way, very rarely gets in the way of this broadcast. Why? Because there's nothing that's going to pop up unexpectedly. Very few things that are going to be more important than this broadcast. Almost nothing. Because I value it. So I've scheduled it. And if I've scheduled it, there's not much that's more important to me. And if something else pops up, then I think, is this thing I could be doing more important than what I have planned to do? Because I actually have put things on my calendar that are valuable to me. Here's a list of all of the things that are important to me. Here's when I'm going to get them done. Instead of here's all the tasks that I could do, all the things I can imagine doing, and I've got to fit them in somewhere. I don't want to manage my tasks. I want to plan my priorities. I want to schedule my priorities. Prayerfully determine the things that God has invited you to participate in, at least those things that you know. Distractions happen. Jesus was distracted by a lot of things, but then he chose to make them the main thing. He also ignored a bunch of things and just kept on walking by. You're not my priority. That's not my problem. So it's the key is to prayerfully consider, set time aside to plan, to pray about, and determine what God is inviting you to participate in. Those things that you know. You don't know everything, but those things that you know. And then make sure that those minimal things are spread out on your calendar in a logical way with a little margin. This broadcast is important to me. It is on my calendar. So something less important doesn't get this hour. On Monday, Stace had said, hey, I've got these things that need to go into the mail. Can you get them in the mail by tomorrow? If you can't take them to the postal place, then I'll go right now. But she needed to know because she's planning her day tomorrow. She can't do it. She's got to do it today. So I had to decide, is what I have scheduled tomorrow too valuable to change to do this tomorrow? Because if I can't do this tomorrow, she needs to do it today. See, that's how decisions get made. And I looked at my calendar and said, I can do it tomorrow. And I moved something over and I put it on my calendar. Go to mailbox. I have an external mailbox. It's not at my house. Go there so that I can mail Stace's packages. It's on my calendar for this last Tuesday. Go to mailbox or mail Stace's stuff. I forgot how I wrote it, but it's on my calendar. Why? Because I put on my calendar what is important. And she's scheduling her day on Monday around what I'm agreeing to do on Tuesday. So I had darn well better get it done. I get to choose it, but if I choose it, it's going to happen unless God redirects it because he's sovereign, not me. So it's on my calendar because it is important. If you're brainstorming a list of things to get done, don't put everything on your calendar when you can do it. I don't want to schedule what I could get done. I want to schedule what I value, what's important, and everything else can fit in around it. If you're brainstorming all the things that you could get done, they're either items to schedule or items that you'll likely never get to. Choose. Is this something I should never get to? Put it on my task list. Maybe I'll get to it, maybe I won't. But if I put it on my calendar, it's what I'm going to do. Unless God sovereignly redirects me. I mean, I can trust him with it, but that my plan is what's important to me. Everything else is what I could do in the margin of my plan. Some people love working from a list of tasks. And they do so really effectively because they enjoy it. And that's okay. If you love making a list and then working down your task, that's fine. My suggestion would be to schedule when you're going to work on your task. These are 2 hours on Thursday afternoon. I'm going to work my task list. Because if it doesn't hit your calendar, it's probably not going to happen. When are you going to do that thing? Don't prioritize what's on your lists of tasks. Don't prioritize your schedule. Schedule your priorities. Do not prioritize your schedule. Here's all the things on my schedule. These are the things I'm going to have to mark off. Don't do that. I'm not going to get to all these things. Then why are they on your calendar? Don't prioritize your schedule. Don't prioritize your schedule. Here's the things I can afford to not get done. Then why are they on your calendar? Don't prioritize your schedule. Here's all the stuff I could get done. What are the most important ones? What's on my calendar, I'm just going to prioritize. Don't do that. Don't prioritize your schedule. Schedule your priorities. Here are the things I really desire. Here are the things I think God is up to. Here are the things that are critical to me. They make the calendar. I really hope this is making sense. Do not prioritize what happens to land on your schedule. Think about what is important to you to get done for what God is calling you to. What he's impressed upon your heart, he is calling you to in the next week, month, year, 3 years. And then schedule the things necessary to walk with him through those processes. Don't prioritize what happens to be on your schedule, all the things you could get done. Instead, schedule those things that are your priorities. For God, you're on his calendar. He has a day that you're coming home. He had a day he was redeeming you. He had days when he was going to meet people when he ran into them. He would say things like, hey, Zacchaeus, tonight I'm going to be at your house. Let's set a date. Let's go there to heal that person. Let's make a plan. Jesus was a planner, and he was willing to be distracted. I'm getting up early to go and spend time with God so that it doesn't get in the way. Nothing can get in the way of this time because I'm doing it before anything else is happening in anybody else's life. No one can distract me from going and spending time with my Father because it's the most important part of my day. I'm not telling you to mimic his priorities. I'm saying mimic the process of scheduling your priorities, not prioritizing your schedule. Do you see the difference? I will probably speak another time about how to effectively use one's calendar. The calendar is such a mess for so many people, or we don't use it at all. How do we build that habit effectively? But I think you're going to have one process, I'll say this, that you manage that drives all of the activity and priorities of your life. And I think the calendar is a great way of averting distraction so that you can do what you have determined in advance is your priority. Now, God can distract you, and you can choose to lean into those distractions. And I encourage you to do that. Does that make sense? I highly encourage you to allow yourself to be distractible because God uses that all the time. But let's schedule what is most important to us, not prioritize our schedule. I hope that makes a ton of sense. If I can sort of finalize all of my task list and brainstorming and ideas and meetings to my calendar, then my calendar can mirror at least the priorities of my day, and God can change those priorities. He can introduce things that happen. Hopefully there's margin between the priorities I have scheduled to engage in those things that God brings up. But my day is not managed by tasks. My day should be mirroring my priorities. And the way that I can do that is with a calendar. So, of course, stuff comes up. But if I'm answering the phone every time it rings instead of doing what I've prioritized for my day, that's the epitome of distraction. Other people's priorities that I don't even know, what they are trying to get done, takes precedence over what God has put on my heart to get done. That's not living by my calendar. That's living by whatever hits me next. So I'm going to schedule a time to return phone calls based on the priority it has in my day, instead of it always taking precedence over what I've already planned. Don't live by distraction, live by priority. And the way to do that is to decide what is important based on what you do know and put it on your calendar. And then I only give up what's happening on my calendar if what's happening in my circumstances is of greater value. Do you see how that works? I only give up what I've predetermined to put on my calendar if what's happening in the moment is of greater importance. In fact, I do this with calendaring all the time. When I have a team member who goes, Mike, I need to talk to you about X. Well, I probably have a time on my calendar when I'm talking to that person, and I will say, can it wait till that meeting? Or is it more important than whatever else we've planned to do right now? And if they say, oh, yeah, I can wait till Wednesday, great, let's Add it to the list of things we're going to talk about on our calendar meeting. But if you say it is more important than whatever is scheduled now, then we're going to give up what's on the calendar for what you have going on, and you are worth it to me. Do you see the difference? I'm willing to do that because you are worth it to me, even if you're wrong about the priority. I'm willing to do that because you feel it's more important than whatever else is on the calendar. 99% of the time, that's just not the case. Most people will go, oh no, it can wait till the meeting. Or we can look at the calendar and go, this is important to me. Let's find a time to talk about it. Can it wait till tomorrow at 9? Great, let's meet tomorrow at 9 instead of interrupting what's on my calendar now. You will be led by other people's priorities and circumstances outside of your control if you don't decide what's important to you and then manage the distractions with a calendar. A calendar is not what you're saying yes to. A calendar is saying no to everything else unless it's more important. A calendar is not saying, here's the most important thing. It's saying, I'm going to ignore and say no to everything but this unless something comes up that's more important. And God does that all the time. I move my calendar stuff around all the time. But do you see the deliberation of that? I mean, if power goes out in my house right now, actually, we'll continue the broadcast. My microphone won't work, but the camera microphone will. We'll just finish. But you see, I'm not in control of that. But I can put this on my calendar, and if other people want to schedule something, it's going to have to be critical. Like the only plane to get where I'm going to meet you later today, and it's critical that I meet you today, and the only plane I can catch is during this time, then I'm going to plan differently. But otherwise, this is happening. Put what matters most on your calendar, and what gets put on your calendar can get done. You've determined in advance, the most important thing to me this week is date night. And if something comes up and I can reschedule date night without it costing me too much, that's fine. But it's rare that I'm going to reschedule date night for anything. Stace and I had been talking about things that we were going to do this weekend, and then she had an opportunity to go and take care of our nephews. And we had to kind of look and go, okay, where are we going to get the time that we want with each other? Because as important as that time is with our nephews, I don't want to give up all the time with my spouse. So if the only time that she and I have is the time that we're giving up, we're going to seriously, even if it's just dinner. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not going to give up something that is of greater value to me for something that is of lesser value. That doesn't mean it's not of value. I am not saying to be a slave to a tool. The tool serves you. The calendar serves you. The calendar is a question. Every time something comes up, is it more important than what you thought you should be doing this hour, this day, this week? It's just a question. It serves you. Don't be a slave to the calendar, but put what you think will matter most to you on your calendar so that you don't get distracted by everything else that's less important. The tyranny of the urgent undermines the value of the important. Let me say that again. The tyranny of the urgent, the junk mail and the spam email and the phone ringing and the whatever, whoever's ringing the doorbell. Are those things really going to be more important for what God has put on your heart if you've chosen those things and put them on the calendar? Probably not. Probably no one who comes to my door for their priority to sell me pesticide service is more important than my broadcast with you today that could be life-changing for somebody. So if the doorbell rings, I'm not going to answer it today while I'm on broadcast with you. See how insane that would be? Oh, all the shiny objects, squirrel. That doesn't mean I'm not distractible. You've seen me change course many times based on what people say in the comments or the time that's available. So I shift gears pretty easily, but I don't want to shift gears to stuff that's less important just because it's ringing. Oh, it's ringing. Give it my attention. Does that make sense? Don't let the tyranny of the urgent undermine the value of what's most important. And And a calendar is just a tool that serves you to say no to everything less important than what you have predetermined is on your heart with God to do. So I'm not saying to be a slave to a tool. I'm certainly not saying to be under obligation to some system. I got to keep the system working. No, you do not. But if you have no system, here's one, right? Like, determine what's important to you, schedule your priorities. Don't come up with everything that could happen in your week and then prioritize your schedule. The most important things might not even be on that list. Why prioritize what's on your schedule if the right things aren't even on the schedule? Prayerfully determine the things that are on your heart and then make sure they are on your calendar with a little margin where possible. Choose how you spend your time instead of time being chosen for you by whatever seems easiest next. This path of least resistance, pinballing from one thing to the next, will feel like a waste of your life. It's not, because God redeems it. He uses everything. But this path of least resistance, determining whatever is next, will give priority to things that are not important. And if you feel like your life is being spent because your time is being spent on an awful lot of things that aren't very important, then you need to be more deliberate, prayerfully, about what is important, and then protect that time necessary, committed to those things, and be completely available for God to redirect you. We make our plans in our heart, and God redirects our steps. He directs our steps. So let him, but it needs to be, here's what I think he's doing, and if he's doing something else, that's great. Not, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going with the flow today, and nothing's going to be done by the end of the day, because when I get done, I'll be tired and I'll sit on my couch over here and turn on some music and start scrolling through email for the rest of the day if I'm not careful. But see, I can't do that because in 20 minutes, a little ding is going to happen on my calendar, and I've got something else that I've chosen to do. Do you see the power of it? And I can ignore it if there's something more important going on. If you and I get on the phone and my calendar dings, I may go, give me 10 seconds to text this person because you're more important than what I have next. I get to do that. I get to be in control of my calendar, not over outcomes of tasks, but I can choose what's important to me in the moment. I hope this is making sense. People are trying to manage tasks and they're feeling out of control and completely stressed out because you do not control tasks. But you can, and people are trying to prioritize their schedule. Here's all the things I think I need to get done. And we're trying to prioritize them because we know we're not going to get them all done. The reason people prioritize their schedule is because they know they're not going to get it all done. Here's what I'm going to skip during my day. Don't prioritize your schedule. Determine what is critical for your week and month ahead and put those things on your calendar with a little margin. The world, so I did corporate training, executive coaching type stuff, productivity stuff in worldly corporate venues. We didn't nearly have the tools then that we have, that we have now. It was all day planner, time management stuff. The tools, the processes have not changed. The tools have gotten a lot better. So the world uses the same tools. Well, how about those be redeemed for what God is actually doing in your life? So I don't want you to be a slave to some concept of productivity. I want you to prayerfully determine what God might be up to in your life and then not be distracted by the wiles of the enemy of God's unique purpose and expression of his life through you today with the people he's bringing across your path. I want you to get choosy and deliberate, volitional in being with God and participating with God in what he's doing in your life. So that doesn't mean don't schedule anything. That means you're not in control of outcomes. Be deliberate with what's important to you, that you devote some time to those things. You manage the calendar so that you don't get sucked into things that are less important in your day. Listen, Jesus is the I am. How will you spend today in the present with him, present with you? He's put some things on your heart. Enjoy them with him. If he has scheduled some things for your calendar today, some people he wants you to meet, some time in this broadcast. This might become important to you because it reinforces truth applied to your life in a practical way. Maybe you should schedule it. Maybe you should protect it from things that are less useful. Maybe God has some calendar items he wants you to participate with him on. They might be distractions from what you put on your calendar. You get to choose that. And they might be the very things he wants you to make progress in because you're committing time to them over weeks and months and years. You can trust, as Jen is saying, you can trust the flow of the Spirit. But as he says, here's what I want you to do over the next month, you might schedule that time with him. Choose it. Number one, measure your time, not your tasks, because you're not in control of the tasks. That'll just stress you out. Not only are you going to choose how you spend your time a little bit, and then you're going to choose what to do with the next block of time. Number two, you're going to be deliberate in measuring your time on things and then what you're going to do with the next block of time. And give yourself all kinds of margin if you can. I'm not saying be stressed out about it. I'm saying measure the time, not the tasks. Otherwise, you spent all day doing one thing when the most important thing was number three. Dedicate time, not devote to tasks. And then number three, schedule your priorities. Don't prioritize your schedule. I want you to have all kinds of margin in your life. Most people don't have margin because they've spent too much time doing stuff they didn't choose. Most people don't have margin in their life because they didn't schedule the time that they wasted doing stuff they didn't choose. If you don't want to spend 3 hours watching Netflix, then you better schedule that time doing something else so that after an hour, there's something else you have planned. I have reading planned. I have exercise planned. I have a conversation planned. I have bed preparation planned. I have prayer time planned. Why? Because I don't want to spend 3 hours on Netflix. I can give it an hour because it's a fun thing to do and there's something I want to watch and I enjoy that, but I don't want to just get caught up in the vacuous void of worldly distractions. So we're going to choose our time. We're going to measure time, not task. And we're going to choose what we value by what we schedule, right? We're going to choose values and we're going to schedule them. Stacey beats everything out of my calendar. She just does. She's the most important person in my life. So if other people want to schedule stuff, I pretty much schedule around what I have scheduled with Stacey. But see, if I never put time with her on the calendar, then other people just take up all of my time and I never have time with Stacey. I hope this is making sense. God is really important to me. He's the most important reality of my life. He is my life. And if I don't put anything on my calendar, where I'm going to spend time with him, what I'm going to read, how I'm going to spend the time that he's put things on my heart to do, then the most important things in my life, I never do because everything else gets on my calendar and he never does. Put what matters most to you on the calendar, which means you better spend some time in prayer, what that is. Like putting the things that are most important to you in your budget. If you don't budget them, you might not ever pay for them. Put what matters most to you on your calendar. And then let your calendar mirror your life, or you're going to do something even more valuable than what's on your calendar because you're choosing your time. Do you see what we're talking about? Because I want my calendar, the priorities I put on my calendar to actually mirror my day, or what I'm going to do is more important than what's on my calendar, which probably has to get rescheduled. Well, this is on my calendar. Let me see if I can reschedule it for this other thing that came up. And so I end up doing the most important things or even more important things than what I planned. And the calendar is incredibly valuable. It's a tool that I manage. I don't manage the time. I manage the calendar so that I can steward my time most effectively. I manage the calendar and I manage some reminders on my phone and I manage some alarms. I actually don't do this stuff a ton. I just do it for the most important things. By managing the calendar and some alarms and a few reminders, I don't get sucked into doing things that don't matter. I steward my time for what matters the most. My friends, my prayer for you is that Christ, who is the I am, will be the chooser and determiner that you voluntarily follow in your decision making of every moment of every day. So you better not be sucked into the tyranny of what is urgent and missing out on the relationship of the moment for the things that he's put on your heart for you to enjoy participating with him in today. Believe it or not, I think how we manage our calendar in order to steward our time is how we spend time with God in the garden of our soul every moment of every day. We say to fix our eyes on Jesus. The problem is we've got to fix our calendar sometimes in order to ever have any time to do what is most important to us. I don't want you to manage your time. God is the master, sovereign over your time and space and life. What I do want you to do is manage some tools to steward your time so that you can be present in the most important things in your life, participating with God. He is the I am. Enjoy him enjoying you today, and do it with deliberation for what he has invited you to enjoy with him, and walk in the garden of your soul as you meet him, spirit on spirit, life on life, breath on breath, in divine intimacy, participating in his divine life, to know him more today in every hour, to grow in grace today with every choice of dependence. And as you know him more and grow in grace, you will absolutely participate with him as you go and love others like crazy. Know, grow, and go with him today, my friends. What a great week we've had talking through some of these things. It's been fantastic. I got to embarrass myself playing guitar yesterday. That was horribly wonderful. Wonderfully horrible. I don't know. It was really bad, but it was really fun. Isn't that great? What security we have in Christ that we can just enjoy stuff we're not great at together. We can enjoy stuff together we're not great at. I love that. I love getting to do that with you so that the heart of worship isn't missed for the performance of music. I love that. So I got to do that with you yesterday at great personal expense of humility. But I loved it. I loved it. Not because it was well done, but because it's worth doing. That's the heart of worship. And then Tuesday, we had a great Triber Tuesday with my friend Larry. What a great conversation that he and I had with all of you. Really, we talked about sin consciousness versus God consciousness and how that plays out in our life and circumstances. If you missed that, go and grab Larry and I's talk on Tuesday, Triber Tuesday. And on Monday, we talked about the theology that underpins the practice that we talked about today. So go back and listen to Monday's talk after this talk, and you'll have a lot of the theology that undermines some of the practical tools we discussed today. It's been an incredible week together. I can't wait. I can hardly wait for Monday to get to spend that time with you. But you know what? I've scheduled some other things this weekend that are also important to me so that I can be fully available with Christ in me to engage fully, life on life, breath on breath with Christ in you. Oh, Asila, your question, we are going to handle that. That might even be Monday's talk. Is there a difference between self-esteem and self-worth? Yes, yes, yes. There is a difference, and we should talk about it. So that's it, my friends. Thank you for being here this week. If you have not yet connected through the website, we are offering one-on-one discipleship conversations with our discipleship team, just a casual, unstructured conversations with wise people who have grown up a little bit in grace and can help apply it in a practical way in your life and circumstances. So if you want to be part of a one-on-one discipling conversation, relationship with somebody, we have people that are available to chat with you. I love that. I love that. Free. There's no cost. It's just relationships. If you need counseling for a crisis so that you can get through an obstacle in your life you can't seem to get through without some help, I highly encourage counseling, and I can give you referrals to that too. I work with some amazing grace-based, Christ-loving counselors, and so would love to do that. But if you just want discipling conversations to grow in those things that focus you and apply the truth of your life and identity in Christ, come to the website, come to the contact page, let us know. We've got a little waiting list, and tonight and tomorrow, I'm going to be assigning those who have asked for that and are on our waiting list to some of our discipleship conversationalists. And I'm looking forward to that. We're going to start that this next week, but we're assigning people this week. So if you want that, go to the contact page, say that you would like to have some discipling one-on-one conversations, and we'll hook you up. Maybe not at first because we can't do everybody, but we can do quite a few people as our folks are available. And then number 2, or if you know Christ's life and have grown in those truths and have some understanding of things like trichotomy and soul and spirit and identity in Christ and the finished work of Christ and our forever union with Christ and our righteousness and holiness by grace and what that looks like played out as we depend upon him. If all of that is old hat, normal, natural, perfectly understandable practice in your thinking, you don't have to be perfect at it in your own life, but you have to have a clear understanding of how that works biblically, then you might need to be one of the people we invite to share in those conversations with people. So if you want to be a discipler in those conversations, then you can let me know that on the contact page. And if you want to continue to grow in a practical way in our life in Christ, and you'd like for other people to know the freedom and empowerment and peace and joy that the indwelling life of Christ is to them, you want to help us reach other people with the freedom and peace of Christ as their life, I would love for you to partner with this ministry at MikeQDaniel.com. If you're already doing that, as many of you are, thank you so much. I love getting to do this with you. We don't charge for anything that we do because we want to do this relationally together as part of the support family of this ministry. I contribute to this work out of my pocket, and many of you do too. I love that. So thank you for those of you who have joined the partnership, the support family of this ministry to make this happen and to reach more people. If you haven't yet done that and you want to participate, then now would be a great time. We've got some great things coming up, some great content that we want to be able to provide, some other venues that we're looking forward to launching. And we're still about 15 weekly or monthly partners shy of being able to do some of the things that on average, that I want to do. So if we can get on average about 15 more partners, when that happens, we're not going to spend money we don't have, but we do want to create some programs and some content and some venues that require some more partnership than what we've got, so that we can reach more people in more ways with the truth of our life in Christ. So if you want to partner, there's a way to do that. Come by MikeQDaniel.com and go to the donation page, and you can do that. But listen, if God is not putting that on your heart, don't do it. If you don't want to partner with us to reach more people, don't do it. I mean, I don't even want you to do it. If you don't love the idea of helping people know the truth that we teach, please don't partner. Like, this isn't for you. You get to participate in what we're doing without participating in us giving it away. Don't partner. But if you love what we're doing and want to help, then whether it's $500 or $50 a month or $15 a month, I absolutely love getting to partner with you to do this work. It is part of the joy of my life to get to partner with those of you who have partnered with me in this work on a monthly basis. So anyway, we do have some things on our heart to do that require some more funds than what we have coming each month. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to happen, maybe with you. So anyway, those of you that are, man, it's awesome. I just love it. Don't you love it? Don't you love getting to be an invested participant in what God is doing in this work? I love it. It excites me to no end. And next week, we're going to do it some more. And so thank y'all for being here. I'm done. I'm way done. Way late. Love you guys. I've got something on my calendar. Got to go. Bye.